Is Arsenal in a crisis? Well, it depends which Arsenal influencer or commentator you follow. I've seen some call for Arteta's head already, which seems absolutely incredible to me, and perhaps a bit of an overreaction is rippling throughout their fan base given recent results. Arsenal won't play again until January 20th, and the time off will surely be welcomed. Arteta is enduring his worst stint as an Arsenal manager, with 1 win, 2 draws, and 4 losses in their previous 7 matches. That's 3 losses on the spin, by the way. What makes it harder to swallow is that Liverpool are looking strong across all competitions, Manchester City are back on track, and have Kevin De Bruyne back, who looked like he hadn't missed a single minute of play, as it took him just 17 minutes to get an assist, by the way. Meanwhile, Arsenal have crashed out of the FA Cup, the League Cup, and are now 5 points adrift in the Premier League, but they still have the Champions League.
But don't fish to fry.
As Arsenal flounder, Arteta is running out of fish to fry. Get it? Flounder, fish to fry. Come on. It's not the worst. But enough of that. Hey guys, I'm Adrian and welcome to the channel. The first video on the channel for 2024. I hope you enjoyed your holidays, as I certainly did. But I'm very happy to be back at work. So for this video, with Arsenal's struggles recently, we'll look at what's going wrong in the attack and defense, if there is anything going wrong there, the areas where they have had a drop-off compared to last season, Arteta's role in all of this, my opinion, and whether this is really a crisis for the Gunners or still just part of the evolution of the club for the better under Arteta. So let's go. Looking at Arsenal's personnel and defense, Arteta and the board were playing a very dangerous game from the outset. Arsenal have one of the smaller first team squads in the league with just 25 players. And in defense, when everyone is healthy, they have 4 center backs, 1 left back, and 3 right backs, should you count Ben White as a right back now. Last season, we saw how the loss of William Saliba may have cost Arsenal the title. Of course, we can't definitively say whether they would have won with him in their back line, but the drop-off in performance was pretty pronounced, wasn't it? This season, they've had Saliba throughout, and they went to the market to bring in highly touted Ajax defender Jurrien Timber to help lessen the defensive load. And he looked great in... oh, well, that's a bit shit, isn't it? His Premier League impact sadly only lasted 50 minutes after he tore his ACL. That's truly one of the worst case scenarios you could think of. Made even more blindingly obvious with the benefit of hindsight now, as Timber is a dynamic defender who can cover both in the center back position as well as left back. Arteta likes his defenders who can play in multiple positions. So if you are Arteta, then you are banging your head against the wall, as the man you've brought in to bolster your options has now been deleted from your squad, basically from the word go, leaving your center back position on thin ice immediately. Gabriel, Saliba, and Jakub Kiwior are your options for the most part, as Ben White has had to play at right back all season due to Arteta not being able to trust Cedric Soares, and Tomiyasu either being out with an injury or, at the moment, away for the Asian Cup. It gets more confusing as well, as Kieran Tierney was loaned out toward the end of August to Real Sociedad, even though Timber, who was playing left back, was injured earlier in the month. Arsenal were a Zinchenko injury away from either moving Tomiyasu over to the left or Ben White to the left. But then, of course, you don't have Tomiyasu at the moment, now, I'm saying, as he's out for the Asian Cup, and it's just a big headache at the back, isn't it? One of the issues for Arsenal recently, very recently, has been defending set pieces. Against West Ham, their most recent loss to West Ham this season, by the way, the second goal they conceded was from a corner. Against Fulham, Fulham's winner was from a corner as well. And Liverpool's game winner came from a great whipped-in ball by Trent Alexander-Arnold that Jakub Kiwior failed to clear, instead glancing it past Ramsdale into his own goal. Set pieces, they hate him. So while that has been a problem of late, it's cropped up at random times throughout the season as well. They had that match against Luton in which they conceded 3. Never a good look to concede 3 against a bottom 3 side. And 2 of the 3 goals they conceded were, yes, yet again, from corners, with Raya having an absolute howler for Arsenal in that match. Clearly, set pieces, in particular corners, are an area that needs some sorting. But overall, it's not as if Arsenal are shipping goals on the regular throughout this season, even when compared to last season. Let's look at some Opta stats, though we are still dealing with 50% of the sample size for this season compared to having 100% of the sample size from last season. So when it comes to overall goals against per 90, last season Arsenal was ranked 3rd in this column with just 1.13 goals against per 90. This season, they've been better thus far, averaging just 1 goal against per 90. Marginal, but still better, right? This isn't a very helpful stat, but I found it funny. Last season, they had 14 clean sheets, and so far this season, after 20 matches, so just over half of the matches played, they're on track for that number again with 7 clean sheets. Arsenal are actually the league leaders when it comes to limiting attempts for their opponents this season. They have had just 49 attempts against them, and last season they allowed 136, so they are actually on track to beat last season's tally by quite a large margin. They also lead the league with the lowest expected goals against with 16.3, and are second only to Liverpool when it comes to goals conceded with 20 after 20 matches. Last season they had an expected goals against of 42 with 43 conceded, so they are on track to beat both of those. The expected goals against in particular is a vast improvement. When you consider all of these things, despite their personnel situation being precarious in defense, the performance of such has actually been trending upward compared to last season. Arteta has managed to improve their defense thanks in large part to bringing in Declan Rice to provide excellent cover for that back line. And so with that in mind regarding defense...
Oh no.
Holy shit. Oh no.
Here's where the big reversion comes. First, let's look at this latest poor run from Arsenal. As noted by The Athletic, Arsenal have had 63 shots since Christmas and have scored just once, spanning across 3 matches. That's a conversion rate of 1.5%. In other words, really shit. Speaking of which, in their last 3 matches, they have had an expected goals of 6.47, higher than their opponents on every occasion, and have been outscored 6-1 across those matches. When it comes to goals from open play, cover your eyes if you're an Arsenal supporter, because according to WhoScored.com, Arsenal have just 20, which is good for 13th in the league behind the likes of Forest, Wolves, Fulham, Chelsea, Bournemouth. It's grim. So while we noted that their defense of set pieces has been poor recently, they have scored just 20 from open play, 6 from the spot, and 11 from set pieces. Hey, that's good. Also, according to WhoScored.com, of all of Arsenal's attempts in the Premier League, 63% of them come from the middle, which is actually the lowest of any team in the entire Premier League, with their attacks favoring the right side of the pitch more than any other team in the Premier League. And what's interesting is that if you look at Arsenal's form over the last 7 matches and compare that to their right winger, the brilliant Bukayo Saka, he hasn't exactly been on song of late like the rest of Arsenal. The way his form mirrors that of Arsenal, when you consider how right-sided their attack is certainly something interesting to consider. It certainly does make you wonder whether the lack of a striker's presence in the box is leading to the lack of attempts from the middle, making them a bit easier to defend given everyone knows where the attack will come from, as Odegaard and Saka, perhaps their 2 most talented or at the very least most effective attacking players, play on that side of the pitch. Now, last season they scored 84 goals from 71.9 expected goals. All top teams overperform their expected goals. It speaks to their quality and the quality players they have out there that are capable of some fantastic finishing feats, capable of scoring goals that the average player cannot. However, this season, Arsenal is sitting on 36 goals from 36.4 expected goals. I'm loath to call this underperforming their XG, but technically it is, and it speaks to their issues in the attack, doesn't it? Some other quick stats for you in comparison to last season. Their goals per shot on target last season was a league-leading 0.42, economical. While this season, they sit firmly mid-table in 10th with 0.31. Their shots per 90 and shots on target per 90 have dropped, albeit almost negligibly, so it's not really worth talking about. And the average distance of their attempts is still the exact same at 16 yards. Their finishing has gotten worse this season. But can you really blame Arteta for that? Not directly, as he can't jump on the pitch and finish off chances for his players, but indirectly, perhaps. What do I mean by that? Their recruitment was interesting. First of all, we haven't spoken of it much, but the signing of David Raya has only been just a very slight improvement over Ramsdale when looking at his performances about 30 matches into this season. When you are conceding so many goals from set pieces, you can ask questions of the keeper, who is supposed to organize the box and choose when to come and collect the ball rather than stand his ground. But even then, you're kind of splitting hairs, as the real issue is in the attack still, not the goalkeeping position, because there's barely any change there. They aren't losing matches because of their defense, but because of their lack of goals. Then there is the money that they allocated to signing Kai Havertz. 75 million euros is nothing to sneeze at, man. And when you're spending that kind of money on an attacker, you want some sort of guarantee of something such as regular goals or assists. I did an entire video on Havertz earlier in the season, as he's a player I have followed closely since he's been in Germany, and I stand by the analysis in that video. He has not been utilized properly by Arteta. Yes, he had a few goals from that left-sided midfield position, but you still aren't going to get the absolute best out of him from there. Do you want a few goals now and then and overall poor or not exciting performances, or do you want to actually get some good value from a player that can be a game changer when utilized properly? You tell me. And of course, I realize Odegaard has that right side of the midfield locked in, and for good reason, but Arteta has been absolutely married to the 4-3-3 through thick and thin pretty much, and I would love to see him perhaps try something new out. Try playing a formation where maybe Havertz can play off of the striker, just behind them to the right in a sort of 4-4-2 or something, with Rice at the base of the midfield and Odegaard floating ahead of him in a flat diamond. Or as we saw against Liverpool, you could give the Rice-Jorginho double pivot some more time to grow. Try two up front, change something. But anyway, went on a bit of a formation tangent there. Well, because that's the hand that Arteta and Arsenal have dealt themselves when opting to sign Havertz for that amount of money. Can Havertz be a useful signing in the future? Yes, if they bring in a striker for him to play tucked behind. But if that's the requirement, which it is the requirement to success for Havertz in my eyes, then what was the point in bringing him in the first place when that money could have gone toward not just cover for, but perhaps genuine competition for Gabriel Jesus? What makes it all the more mind-boggling for me is that Gabriel Jesus is one of those players that not only is great at holding up the ball when needed, but he can also play that hybrid striker role, sort of a shadow role, alongside another striker. Look at his heat maps from last season, and this one. He's all over the place. So when he is fit, he could play alongside that new striker, or an old one, as Balogun could have been given a run this season considering how good he was in Ligue 1 last season. This is where I think Arteta and Arsenal did indeed make a mistake. The allocation of funds in the attack, as well as perhaps letting Tierney go on loan given they are light at the back as well. Not good. Rice, cannot argue with that signing. He's been unbelievable for Arsenal this season. Whether they will sign a striker in January, I don't know. I don't think so, as Arsenal have some financial fair play issues of their own to consider. That's why the Raya loan with an option to buy at the end of the season happened, rather than the £27 million deal they were trying to pull off in the summer. Speaking of spending, they've done a ton of it. People get on Chelsea for the spending that they've done, and rightfully so. But if Chelsea hadn't spent such ludicrous amounts, Arsenal would be in the spotlight. When you look at net spend, Arsenal are behind only Chelsea and Manchester United for the last 5 years. That's a lot of money, but on the pitch, that's a lot of turnover. Just look at their lineup of the last piece of silverware they won. It's almost wholesale change. And this was 3 years ago in the FA Cup final. Year upon year, they've changed their squad, and it takes time for everything to click into place. Just look at Chelsea and how they're finding difficulties as they try to speed run through their evolution. And that's fine. You can try that, but you can't also expect to win things while going through these changes. There are few clubs who can get that balance right, and they are often the proven, consistent winners of the sport. Arsenal are not consistent winners at the moment, and by this, I mean silverware winning winners, not match by match. And when you play in England, well, Arteta and Arsenal by extension are unfortunately in some ways, but fortunately in many more ways, caught in a position where the top of the Premier League is so competitive that if you have a wobble of any extent, you can find yourself out of the running. It's cutthroat, it's unforgiving, but that's the game and what makes winning trophies in England so difficult. You have the likes of Manchester City, who are the current European and world champions, who can have a bit of a wobble in the first half of the season, only to go on some sort of ungodly run of consecutive wins or a 20-match unbeaten streak during the business end of the season, and then clean up a few trophies along the way. And then there's Liverpool, another team that has shown that they can go on these insane runs, win multiple trophies in a season, and play in some sort of European final as well. And they do it almost at will, these two sides. And so by comparison, Arsenal's loss of form may feel like a crisis, but you have to take stock of which tier they are competing in now. Previously, their crisis would mean that their Champions League qualification was touch and go, maybe not going to happen. Now it's whether they will finish in first, second, or third, while seeing the team continue to grow under Arteta and the squad continue to be revolutionized. Choose which crisis, and that's in major air quotes, you prefer. But for me, there's a clear winner there. When you consider how Arsenal should have Zinchenko and Timber back soon, that's part of their worries already taken care of. Should they also invest in another striker and consider a change of shape now and then to bring Havertz in as a second striker, where he flourished at Bayer Leverkusen, then there's no reason to believe that Arsenal need to throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to Arteta. I've praised Arsenal in the past for the patience they've shown with Arteta, as the progression season upon season has been clear. The one thing I'd say they got wrong was perhaps loaning out Kieran Tierney this summer and opting for Havertz as opposed to an out-and-out striker. The Havertz signing can be a good one still, so long as a true striker, not a hybrid striker as they seem to love, but a true striker is brought in as well this summer. Looking at the expected goals this season versus last, it's a clear indicator that Arteta is putting the pieces in place on the pitch for his team to be successful. But the execution can only be, well, executed by the players, and they are failing to do so. As Guardiola once said, "My job is taking you to the final third, and your job is to finish." And I think the board probably sees that when it comes to Arteta and how the players are failing him. And with that in mind, I don't think that this season is do or die for Arteta. Well, yes, when you look at their final position over the last few years, if you wanted to apply some 1 + 1 = 2 mathematics logic, after finishing second last season, you'd think, okay, now we got to win the league. But that's just not how this sport works. That's looking at it in a vacuum, looking at Arsenal in a vacuum, as if they are the only team that is also improving year upon year. Liverpool was sleeping last season. Now they're awake and finding ways to beat Arsenal at home despite missing half of their back line in Robertson and Van Dijk, their best midfielder in Szoboszlai, and their best player in Salah. While Arsenal may have improved, City now have De Bruyne back and managed to stay in touching distance of first without him. Did you see how happy Haaland was watching KDB get that assist in the FA Cup the other day? That man will be feasting again very soon. So this season isn't do or die. If they fail to win trophies, depending on the context of how they failed, next season will likely be the do or die for Arteta. It also just so happens that his contract will be up at the end of next season. So failure to win anything this season, followed by the same next season, will surely see a mutual parting of ways. But at the moment, with the investment the club has put into the manager, a split right now doesn't make sense, both when it comes to the level of performances not dropping to a low enough level and the abandonment of Arteta's project. It hasn't gone perfectly, for sure, but Arteta now has Arsenal in a much better place than where they were when he inherited this side. That will be all for this one. Thank you guys for watching this video. My name is Adrian, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!